Hello and a very good evening. You're watching the news at 6 on Rajya Sabha television with me, Frank Pereira. Here are the headlines. At least 30 children dead at a government hospital in Gorakhpur after their oxygen supply is cut off. Government orders probe into the death, says guilty will be punished. JDU removes Sharad Yadav as the party's leader in the Rajya Sabha, submits letter to the Vice President Naidu seeking removal. BJP meanwhile asked JDU to join the NDA. Protests over removal of Article 35A from Jammu and Kashmir. Separatists enforce shutdown. Chief Minister Mehbooba Mufti seeks centre's support in maintaining status quo on the article. And as the rhetoric escalates between Pyongyang and Washington, China urges both sides to exercise restraint, says risk of military conflict too high. Well, over 60 children have died in the past 5 days in Gorakhpur's BRD hospital, allegedly after their oxygen got cut off. The UP government has ordered an inquiry into the matter and assured of strict action against those guilty. However, UP Health Minister Siddharth Singh said after taking stock of the situation that the deaths were not due to lack of oxygen supply. Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath too has blamed lack of cleanliness and hygiene for the deaths. Meanwhile, the state government has suspended the principal of Gorakhpur's BRD Medical College.
Heart-wrenching scenes from the government-run Baba Raghav Das Hospital in Gorakhpur, where over 60 innocent children have lost their lives in the last 5 days, literally fighting for every last breath.
लड़की वही है, लड़की वही है।
डॉक्टर क्या कह रहे हैं? डॉक्टर क्या?
डॉक्टर ये दिए हैं वहाँ से जांच कर वहाँ पर से ये दिए हैं।
The victims were children suffering from encephalitis, suffocated to death as their oxygen supply was cut off because the vendor providing the oxygen tanks to the hospital stopped its supply due to non-payment. The company is now trying to defend their indefensible act of not providing oxygen even as kids lay dying. The company says they wrote several letters to the hospital management but got no response.
वो तो बकाया चल रहा था, काफ़ी दिनों से ही चल रहा था, लेकिन एक लिमिट थी। हमारे बंदे भी जाके वहाँ पे मौखिक रूप से भी बोलते थे, वहाँ जाके बैठे रहते थे सुबह से शाम तक, पेमेंट के लिए कोई बात नहीं होती थी।
Incidentally, Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath had visited the medical college 3 days ago and inspected the pediatric ward. However, he wasn't made aware of the acute shortage of oxygen in the hospital. The Uttar Pradesh government has assured of stringent action against those found guilty. In a tweet, Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath said a probe has been ordered into the incident. The Chief Minister has also ordered UP Health Minister Siddharth Singh and Medical Education Minister Ashutosh Tandon to monitor the situation at the BRD hospital.
जो जांच में जो आया वो मैं कह सकता हूं, जो हम लोग निष्कर्ष पे आए हैं कि गैस सप्लाई या गैस जो बाधित हुई थी उसके कारण बच्चों की मौत नहीं हुई है।
अगर ऐसा किसी ने मतलब सूचना के बाद भी लापरवाही बरतने का कार्य किया है तो जांच हो रही है, जांच के बाद बहुत कठोर कार्रवाई होगी और जो दोषी होंगे उनको कोई बचा नहीं पाएगा।
Union Health Minister JP Nadda has also asked the Minister of State for Health Anupriya Patel and Health Secretary CK Mishra to visit Gorakhpur to look into the matter. As the children lay dying, politics has already begun on this utterly shameful incident. The opposition has been quick to train its guns at the ruling BJP government in the state. A Congress delegation led by Ghulam Nabi Azad, Raj Babbar and RPN Singh visited the BRD hospital on Saturday. Samajwadi Party workers blocked the roads outside the hospital in protest. The opposition is now demanding the resignations of the Chief Minister and the Health Minister.
हम राज्य सरकार को इसके लिए दोषी ठहराते हैं और स्वास्थ्य मंत्री को, स्वास्थ्य सचिव को, अगर स्वास्थ्य मंत्रालय में राज्य में 2 मंत्री हैं, दोनों को और सचिव को मिलाकर अभी तुरंत इस्तीफा देना चाहिए।
तो मुख्यमंत्री जी मिलकर के भी आए थे और समीक्षा भी हुई होगी, और अगर समीक्षा हुई होगी तो ये बात मैं समझता हूं उनके सामने भी आई होगी, और अगर समीक्षा होते समय ये बात उनके सामने नहीं आई है तो सोचो उन्हीं के कर्मचारियों ने, मेडिकल कॉलेज के लोगों ने, या जो भी संबंधित अधिकारी को होगा, उसने कितना बड़ा धोखा सरकार को दिया है।
मुख्यमंत्री के अपने खुद के जिले गोरखपुर के सरकारी अस्पताल में इनकी घोर सरकारी उदासीनता, लापरवाही व अनदेखी के कारण तो पिछले केवल 6-7 दिनों में ही लगभग 60 से अधिक मासूम बच्चों की हुई मौत से वहां महिलाओं की गोद उजड़ जाना, यह बीजेपी शासनकाल में जनहित व जन कल्याण की घोर आपराधिक लापरवाही का एक खास उदाहरण है।
It has also been reported that hospital employees who handle the storage plant from where oxygen is piped to different wards had written a letter to the chief medical officer informing him that the stock of liquid oxygen was dangerously low and would not last the night. The operators pleaded with the authorities to act urgently, a plea that went unheeded. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh today called on the new Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu. Dr. Singh congratulated Naidu on being elected as the 13th Vice President of India. The latter expressed gratitude and thanked the former Prime Minister for his gesture. Later, Assam Governor Bhawarilal Purohit also met the Vice President at his residence. He too extended his best wishes to Venkaiah Naidu on his new role. Well, JDU leader Sharad Yadav has been removed as the leader of the party in the upper house. Rajya Sabha MPs of the JDU on Saturday met Vice President Venkaiah Naidu to submit a letter seeking Yadav's removal. However, Vasishtha Narayan Singh clarified after the meeting that Yadav has not been removed from the party but only replaced by RCP Singh as the leader of the party in the Rajya Sabha. The leader said that the decision was taken because of Yadav's recent objections to Nitish Kumar joining hands with the BJP. There is speculation that Yadav might join hands with Lalu Prasad's RJD, either splitting the JDU or launching a new party.
ये एक आवश्यक कदम था, क्योंकि नेता पद पर रहते हुए यदि कोई व्यक्ति एंटी पार्टी एक्टिविटीज करता हो और वैसी एंटी पार्टी एक्टिविटीज जिसको बिहार के पूरे विधानमंडल ने, पूरे बॉडी ने फैसला करना चाहिए और उस समय की परिस्थिति के अनुसार फैसला करने का अधिकार राष्ट्रीय अध्यक्ष माननीय श्री नीतीश कुमार को दिया गया था।
Meanwhile, in a related development, BJP President Amit Shah has invited the Bihar Chief Minister to join the NDA. JDU will endorse the proposal to join the NDA during its National Executive meeting in Patna on the 19th of August, leading the way for it to join the Narendra Modi cabinet.
वो जब दिल्ली और पटना में हम लोगों का जो सपना था वो एक तरह से खंडित हुआ है, तो उस सपने को नीचे बनाने के लिए आए हैं। तो हम तो नीचे के जिम्मेदार हैं, हम ऊपर के जिम्मेदार अब नहीं है, वरना उस पर बोलते कुछ हम।
While Jammu and Kashmir Chief Minister Mehbooba Mufti met BJP General Secretary Ram Madhav on Saturday. The two leaders discussed several issues, prominent among them being Article 35A and Article 370, which deal with special status and special privileges to the residents of Jammu and Kashmir. Mufti had met Prime Minister Modi on Friday in this regard, seeking his support in maintaining status quo on both articles. Separatist leaders also gave a shutdown call in the state to protest against the petition in the Supreme Court that seeks scrapping of Article 35A.
Normal life came to a standstill in Kashmir on Saturday following a shutdown call by separatist leaders. Shops, public transport and educational institutions were shut down and streets wore a deserted look, barring a few policemen on patrolling duty. The shutdown call was given to protest the legal challenge to Article 35A of the Constitution, which defines the permanent residents of the state and provides them with special rights and privileges. Separatist leaders say the petition in the Supreme Court that seeks scrapping of Article 35A is a move to change the demography of the Muslim-majority state. Separatist groups have also warned of massive protest if Article 35A is tinkered with. Last month, the Supreme Court had asked the centre to file a reply within 3 weeks to a writ petition filed by an NGO seeking that Article 35A be struck down. The plea says that the Jammu and Kashmir government, under the guise of Article 35A and Article 370, has been discriminating against non-residents who are debarred from buying properties, getting a government job or voting in the local elections. State Chief Minister Mehbooba Mufti also met Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Friday in this regard, claiming his support on status quo for Article 370. She also met BJP General Secretary and point person on Jammu and Kashmir Ram Madhav on Saturday.
लीगल मुद्दा है, उसका सही समाधान सबके लिए जो अनुकूल रहे, सबके लिए सबको अच्छी लगे, ऐसे एक अच्छा समाधान लीगली इसको ढूंढा जा सकता है. इसको एक विवादित मुद्दा नहीं बनाना चाहिए. इस समय कानून कोर्ट के सामने विषय है.
Meanwhile, the security personnel in the state came under attack both from the terrorists as well as the Pakistani Rangers. A group of heavily armed militants opened fire at an army building in Kupwara in the wee hours of Saturday, injuring one Jawan. The Pakistani army also resorted to unprovoked firing along the line of control in Poonch district, killing a 40-year-old woman. Ceasefire violations by Pakistan have increased many-fold this year. Till the 1st of August, 285 instances of ceasefire violation have been reported by the Pakistani forces. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Senior army officials from India and China held a flag meeting on Saturday at the Nathula mountain pass in Sikkim to discuss the Doklam standoff. However, the talks remained inconclusive. The meeting was between major general rank officers from both sides. India continued to insist that the face-off could be resolved through simultaneous withdrawal of troops by both sides. However, China is believed to have said that India should withdraw its troops first. Saturday's deliberations follow a meeting between brigade commanders of the two sides on August 8th. India and China have been locked in a face-off in the Doklam area for nearly 8 weeks after Indian troops stopped the Chinese army from building a road in the area. China claimed it was constructing the road within its territory. Bhutan has laid claim on the Doklam plateau, but China claims it to be its territory. The Indian Coast Guard commissioned a coastal surveillance ship, Shaurya, in Goa on Saturday, taking the strength to over 120 ships. The indigenously built ship is capable of cruising at a speed of 23 knots and has a range of 6,000 nautical miles, which is more than 11,000 kilometers. The ship will survey and provide safety to the area from Chennai's coastline. It's time for a short break now, but news and updates will continue on the other side. Stay tuned, we'll be right back.
Jade was popular during Mughal era and gained prominence during Akbar's rule in 15th and 16th century. It came all the way from Iran and Central Asia in attractive colors. The royalty had a unique use for it. Since jade changed color when it came in contact with arsenic, they started utensils like plates, jars, bowls and even hooks with it, and thereby avoided getting poisoned by rivals.
We must address and bring in that we have now more of medical infrastructure facilities which can detect cancer. We must educate right from the schooling to undergraduates to the postgraduates about how to go about this cancer preventive oncology. We learn from our failures. You know, your good judgment will always come from your failures. We'll have 9 failures and then 10th will be success.
Watch Eureka with Dr. Anil Suri, Director at National Institute of Immunology, only on Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back. You're watching Rajya Sabha television. Well, Chinese President Xi Jinping has urged President Trump to exercise restraint over tensions with North Korea. After a week of threats and counter-threats between Washington and Pyongyang, Xi urged both sides not to do anything that would aggravate tensions.
In a telephone call early Saturday, Chinese President Xi Jinping told the US President that the North Korean nuclear issue needs a peaceful resolution. He also asked that both the US and North Korea exercise restraint. Russia also expressed deep worry over the mutual threats being traded between Pyongyang and Washington, saying the risks of a military conflict are very high.
Но вы знаете нашу позицию, мы не приемлем ядерной Северной Кореи, обладающей ядерным оружием. У нас вместе с Китаем есть целый ряд предложений, которые нацелены на то, чтобы не допустить там глубочайшего конфликта, кризиса с огромным количеством человеческих жертв. К сожалению, риторика в Вашингтоне и в Пхеньяне начинает зашкаливать. Мы все-таки надеемся, рассчитываем, что здравый смысл возобладает.
However, North Korea continued to fuel tension Saturday, claiming that many of its citizens, young and old, wanted to join or rejoin the military to fight the United States. Even though the report sounds over the top, it shows that the North Korean regime is not backing down in the face of Trump's threats.
You know what I can say? Hopefully it'll all work out. Okay? Nobody loves a peaceful solution better than President Trump, that I can tell you. Hopefully it'll all work out. But this has been going on for many years. Would have been a lot easier to solve this years ago before they were in the position that they're in. But we will see what happens. We think that lots of good things could happen, and we could also have a bad solution. But we think lots of good things can happen.
The US President has also assured the governor of Guam that he has its back. This after North Korea threatened to strike Guam. Meanwhile, Japan has finished installing surface-to-air missile interceptors in the western prefectures that North Korea said would be in the flight path of any missiles launched towards Guam.
国民の生命と財産を守るために最善を尽くしてまいります。
Over in South Korea, the government has begun the environmental survey needed to complete the deployment of the THAAD missile defense system in signs that the government is now keen on expediting the deployment. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Meanwhile, at least 2 people, including a child, have been killed in Kenya during protests by opposition supporters against the re-election of President Uhuru Kenyatta. Protests flared in opposition strongholds in Nairobi and Kisumu after the Election Commission declared Kenyatta the victor in the hotly disputed vote. Supporters of his rival Raila Odinga claimed that the vote was rigged. Following an acrimonious campaign, Kenyatta used his re-election speech to reach out to Odinga and his supporters on Friday night, saying he wanted to work with them in the service of Kenya.
Have been erratic incidents of lawlessness in a few places, such as Kibera in Nairobi and parts of Kisumu County. In these places, reports indicate that criminal elements have attempted to take advantage of the situation to loot and destroy property. The security forces have reported that they have responded appropriately and they have restored normalcy in most of these parts.
Well, here's a roundup now of the other international news in Global Buzz. The Syrian army and its allies have seized control of at least 30 kilometers of Syria's border with Jordan from rebels. A military media unit of the Hezbollah, a close ally of the Syrian government, said that the army and its allies had gained control over all checkpoints and border posts on the border in Suwaida, one of 4 Syrian provinces that border Jordan. The rebel groups, some of them backed by Western and Arab states, still control much of Syria's southwestern frontier with Jordan and Israel. At least 42 people were killed and more than 100 injured as 2 trains collided in Egypt's coastal city of Alexandria. According to eyewitnesses, the 2 trains mounted into the air, forming a pyramid after they slammed into each other at a suburban station on the edge of the Mediterranean port city. The Egyptian rail authority said that the collision derailed the locomotive of one train and 2 cars of the other. As rescue teams worked to pull the dead and injured from the wrecked carriages, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi ordered an inquiry into the crash. Four people were pulled out from the wreckage of a light plane after it flipped upon landing at an Australian airport on Saturday. The emergency police service said it appeared that the plane had a rough landing on the runway. All 4 people on board were removed from the plane, with 2, including the pilot, sustaining serious injuries. And now moving on to news from the world of sports. And first up, the 3rd test match between India and Sri Lanka. Shikhar Dhawan scored a century before Sri Lanka fought back to claim 6 Indian wickets as the visitors ended the first day at 329. Electing to bat, India reached 329 for 6 at stumps of the 3rd day and final test against Sri Lanka at Palkale. Riddhiman Saha was batting on 13 and Hardik Pandya was on 1 at the end of the day. Indian opener Shikhar Dhawan scored 119 and KL Rahul's 85-run knock gave India a solid start. The opening duo brought up their 50 partnership of just 55 balls. However, the Lankans fought back by sending both openers back to the pavilion post-lunch. Though Virat Kohli's 42 runs and Ajinkya Rahane's 17 runs tried rebuilding the innings, but the bowlers pegged back the visitors with regular wickets. Well, another sports news now. Former Commissioner of the Indian Premier League Lalit Modi has announced his resignation from the Nagaur District Cricket Administration in Rajasthan. Modi took to his Twitter account and posted a 3-page letter tagging BCCI CEO Rahul Johri, announcing his decision to step down from all cricket administration posts. He wrote, "It has been a long journey for me in Indian cricket. The path has been rocky at times, but the destination has always been the pursuit of excellence. Needless to state that over the past 15 years, I have enjoyed every moment of my journey." Modi left the country in 2010 after allegations about tax evasion and money laundering. Well, here's a roundup of the other sports news in Sports Beat. In the men's javelin throw final at the World Athletics Championships, Davinder Singh will be seen in action tonight. With the impressive throw of 84.22 meters, he had cleared automatic qualification by finishing 5th among 16 competitors in his group and 7th overall. Dutch woman Daphne Schippers retained her World 200 meters title and beat Ivorian Marie-Jose Talu, who settled for silver. Olympic champion Elaine Thompson did not race the 200 meters and Tori Bowie pulled out after winning the 100 meters. Things looked easier for Schippers, who took bronze in the 100 meters as she won the 200 meters in 22.05 seconds. She now joins American Gwen Torrence and Jamaican Marlene Otte as the only woman to win medals in both 100 meters and 200 meters at successive World Championships. Shooter Maheshwari Chauhan has bagged the bronze medal to earn India's first women's skeet individual medal in the Asian Shotgun Championship in Astana. Maheshwari also led India to the team silver alongside compatriots Rashmi Rathod and Sania Sheikh. The trio shot a total of 190 and finished behind gold medalist China, who shot 195. India's tally now stands at 2 gold, a silver and 3 bronze medals in the event. Well, that's it on this newscast. Have a good evening.